2022 is almost over, and 2023 is on its way. So of course, we have the final end of the year list to do for 2022, and this is also of course the final video of 2022. These are my favorite movies that came out this year. Man, 2022 has been a great year for films. There's so many great films that came out this year. So I decided, instead of doing a top 10 favorite movies of the year, I decided to do a top 15. Because there are so many great films that came out this year, I just can't name it out to 10. I just couldn't. So, let's do a top 15 list instead. So of course this is the biggest end of the year list video that I am doing, and this is going to be definitely longer than the last end of the year list videos. But this is definitely going to be the fun, because we are going to rehash the movies that make 2022 a great year for film. And this is my personal list. If you don't like any of these movies on my top 15 list, or even my honorable mentions, that's absolutely fine. Do me a favor. Let me know in the comments below what are your favorite movies of the year, and of course I will explain it again at the end of the video. Let me know what are your favorite movies of the year in the comments below. I want to know your picks, or even do a video response if you can. So, before we get to my top 15 best movies of the year, of course, I've got some honorable mentions to lay out. And those are The Fallout, The Bad Guys, The Woman King, She Said, Bones and All, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Those movies are great movies. Those are the movies that still make 2022 a great year, but unfortunately they didn't make the list. Even though those movies are great, they did not make the list, unfortunately. But those movies are still great. But these 15 movies are the movies that made, in my opinion, 2022 a great year for film. So, let's end off 2022 with a great note. These are my top 15 best movies of the year. And of course, let's start off this list with number 15. So let's start off this list with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, this is definitely one of those movies that's difficult to make. How can I make this movie without Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther himself? But my god, Ryan Coogler absolutely pulled it off. The character study of this film, dealing with loss and redemption, is really well praised in this film. Letitia Wright as Shuri, fantastic in this film. Angela Bassett, man, this woman needs an Oscar nomination. She is fantastic in this film. Namor is also a pretty good villain for this film. And the rest of the new characters like Ironheart, she is awesome in the film. Cannot wait to see her spin-off series. The cinematography, the action scenes especially are fantastic in this film. And even the visual effects are stunning in this film. Ryan Coogler absolutely crushes it with this sequel. And this is definitely a great tribute to the actor Chadwick Boseman himself. Man, rest in peace. Now, coming into my number 14 is Elvis. Now, I know some people are mixed with this film because they're not a fan of Baz Luhrmann's style, but I would say the style of Baz Luhrmann absolutely works in this movie. This is a great, legendary story about Elvis, and I think Austin Butler absolutely crushes it in this role. Tom Hanks also as Colonel Tom Parker. He plays a role that he doesn't normally play, a character that we absolutely despise, and Tom Hanks really nails it in this film. This is definitely a great legacy movie about Elvis Presley. I think the drama of this movie is good. I think the performances are fantastic in the film. The music, you just want to dance along to. But this is a great story about dealing with the popularity. And I think Baz Luhrmann absolutely directs this movie very, very well. And it's one of those movies that his style absolutely works. Now, I would say horror films have been pretty good this year. There are some great horror films that came out this year. One of them is The Black Phone. Man, this movie is suspenseful as hell, and even Hawk as a serial killer, he absolutely crushes it in the film. But not just him, the kids in this film. This is a good year for child acting, I would say. The kids in the movie are fantastic in this film. They felt realistic in the film. They didn't feel annoying at all. The whole one location setting in this basement is very chilling. The direction, the cinematography of this movie is fantastic. This is absolutely one of the most suspenseful movies of the year since Don't Breathe, and I think The Black Phone absolutely nails it. Man, Jordan Peele has done it again with Nope. Now, I can see people very mixed by this movie. I get it, the reveal of the end, when the UFO is the alien the whole time. that could be very mixed bag. I loved it. I find this movie so freaking original. This is definitely one of those films that Steven Spielberg would have done, but Jordan Peele takes that inspiration and makes it his own thing. Daniel Kaluuya is great in the film. Keke Palmer, another woman that needs to get nominated. She is fantastic in this film. Same with Stephen Yeun. Just the whole atmosphere with Nope is fantastic. This is definitely the biggest film that Jordan Peele has directed. The IMAX, it really pays off in this film. This film is also very suspenseful, but it's also a film that kind of gives us a sense of wonder at the exact same time, and Jordan Peele, how he directs this film, is something out of remarkable. I would say this movie is better than Us. That's just my opinion anyways. And of course, I cannot wait to see what Jordan Peele does next. Keep going with this genre, please do. Now, out of those two horror films, they're very good horror films, but of course, I have my favorite horror film of the year, and that is Barbarian. This movie is insane, it's crazy, but so original at the exact same time. And the direction with Barbarian is fantastic. The acting in this movie is great. This is a good horror / black comedy film that gives me laughs, but also gives me the scares. And what is great about Barbarian is that you don't know what is going to happen. You don't go, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen. You are so invested from start to finish. And I think Barbarian handles that very, very well. And is this movie scary? Absolutely. This movie frightens me out of all the horror movies that came out this year. It just feels so fresh that you just come out of a horror movie just shitting yourself, but also having so much fun with it. And Barbarian is definitely one of those movies that made me feel that way. Okay, now we're up to the top 10 favorite movies of the year, and man, this movie was requested for me, and I'm so glad I saw this movie, RRR. This movie was an absolute blast. It's an action movie that's not like other action movies I have seen. This is a great Hollywood film. The action scenes are fantastic in this film with dance sequences. It's very original, but I love that about this film. And also the friendship story of this film is really well done. You love these two characters together and you just want them to stay together. That's how good this friendship is in this film. This is a good friendship / rivalry story with some fantastic looking action scenes. Even the music in this film is just so catchy and it's really well choreographed. And just this movie's so badass. There's so many action scenes that really stood out throughout this movie. Thank you for the people who requested me to see this film because I am so glad I saw it and now it's on my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Now, this is a movie I didn't review on this channel, but this is definitely my favorite animated film that came out this year, and that is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. We've got so many Pinocchio films that came out this year. We have Pinocchio, A True Story, we have the shitty Disney live-action film, but we have the best one, and that is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. The stop-motion animation in this movie is so well done in this film. I am so happy that stop-motion animated films are still around because it shows how fantastic and creative they are. The acting in this film is fantastic. It's definitely a different spin on the Pinocchio story, and Guillermo del Toro absolutely nails this movie because absolutely this is his passion project, and you can really see that throughout this film. Now, absolutely this is a year for originality, like Nope for example, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is definitely the best I have seen for originality this year. This film, like a lot of people say that this film is the better version of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I would absolutely agree with that. Michelle Yeoh's performance in this film, man, another actress that needs a nomination, but this time for Best Actress because she absolutely nails it in this film. Jamie Lee Curtis is crazy in this film. Short Round, I call him Short Round, he's awesome in this film. Just the whole originality with this film is so creative. This is a good action movie with some great comedy, some great emotional drama. This film basically got every single genre all at once and it just came all together and it's nailed very, very well. Definitely one of the best A24 films that I've seen in a while. Now, this is absolutely one of the best comic book films that I have seen in a very long time. You've guessed it, it's The Batman. Matt Reeves, man, you've done it again. Now, when I first heard that Matt Reeves is doing a Batman movie and Robert Pattinson is going to play Batman, I wasn't sure what to think. And then the teaser trailer came out, and then I was pumped the whole way through. I would say The Batman is like a fan film done right. Robert Pattinson absolutely nails it as Batman, and they did the character of Batman right. They made him a detective in this film. What we all wanted to see, and Matt Reeves just absolutely done it with Batman, and Robert Pattinson absolutely nails it as Batman in this film. Paul Dano as the Riddler, one of the best villains of the year. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Zokovic as Catwoman, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, Andy Serkis as Alfred. Everyone in this movie does a terrific job in the film. The whole detective aspect of the film is fantastic in this film. The action scenes also. One of my favorite scenes of the year, the Batmobile chase. That scene was amazing. The cinematography of this movie is great. I love how Gotham was even presented in this film. It's the best Gotham that I've seen on the big screen. Cannot wait to see what Matt Reeves does next with this franchise because, man, it goes off with a good start because The Batman is absolutely one of the best comic book movies that came out in a long time since The Dark Knight. Now, if there is a summer movie that I'll put as my number one, but it didn't come out in the summer, I will pick The Menu because this movie is such a delight. This movie is an entertaining black comedy slash thriller film that just brings everything I wanted from it. The comedy is great, the thrilling elements is interesting, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult is great in the film, but man, Ralph Fiennes, another great actor this year. He is fantastic in this film, but this is definitely one of the most creative thrillers of the year. The food adds a lot of story to this film, and I thought the direction with The Menu is fantastic. This movie is entertaining, it's fun, but also suspenseful at the exact same time, and I think The Menu absolutely delivers that very well. Alright guys, we are up to the top 5. These are my favorite movies of the year. These are the movies that made 2022 a great year for films. So coming into my number 5 is The Northman. Robert Eggers. You've done it again. From The Witch to The Lighthouse to my favorite film he does, The Northman. This is a great, epic, historical Viking slash thriller film that absolutely nails it on all those levels. The performances of the film is great as well. Alexander Skarsgård, once again, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicole Kidman. This is going to be a tough year for the Oscars because there are some great acting that came this year, and Nicole Kidman is absolutely one of them. The cinematography, the action scenes in this movie is brutal, but it's really well filmed. This movie is absolutely, basically like Braveheart on steroids. This movie is a great Viking revenge film that absolutely nails it on so many levels. Now, I would even say this is a great year for sequels, and these 3 movies are some of the best sequels of the year. Oh my gosh, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery made me so excited to see what Rian Johnson does next with this franchise, because this is going to be a franchise. And my god, Knives Out made me so pumped for that. Because Glass Onion is definitely a bright example of a great sequel that's better than the original film. I love Knives Out, but Glass Onion did something that's so original and different with the murder mystery genre. Again, I keep saying this a lot of time, the performances of this movie is great, but the atmosphere of this movie is different than the first one, and it just really nails it to the bone. I think the murder mystery is so different and very original in this film, and just the performances really drive out with this film. Rian Johnson, we forgive you after The Last Jedi. Keep going with this franchise because, man, Glass Onion just makes me more pumped for the next movies to come. Man, this is definitely one of those bright examples of a sequel that we weren't expecting to be better than the original. Top Gun Maverick is amazing. This is one of those movies where I was not expecting this movie to be good. I really wasn't. I was expecting this movie to be like a nostalgic fest, like most sequels that are coming out after 30 years of the original film. But man, this is rare to say that Top Gun Maverick is better than the original in every single way. Tom Cruise, fantastic in this film. Same with the new crew. They're all fantastic in the film. Miles Teller, one of his best performances that I've seen in a very long time. The cinematography of this film, the dogfight scenes. Oh my god, they're some of the most fun action scenes that I've seen this entire freaking year. This film is funny, it's emotional. This is a right representation of what a blockbuster should do. Man, this is a surprise this year that we got a sequel that's better than the classic film that everyone knows and loves. Great job, Top Gun Maverick. Now, of course, speaking of blockbusters, you probably noticed there's something missing on this top 10 best list, and I think most people will put this on their best list, or at least in their honorable mentions, because this is the best blockbuster that came out this year, and this is the most epic movie that came out this year. Avatar: The Way of Water. 13 years we've been waiting for this film, and it delivers. You can tell why this film took so long, and it absolutely pays off. James Cameron, you freaking done it. You made the sequel to Avatar that we've all been waiting for, and this movie exceeded absolutely with my expectations. The visual effects are some of the best I have seen this entire year. The water sequences are fantastic in the film. The motion capture with the underwater scenes are fantastic in the film. The action is also great. This actually brings us one of the best third acts I have ever seen this entire freaking year. The performances of this movie is great from Sam Worthington, especially Zoe Saldana. But the kids in the film are fantastic. Each single one of those kids' characters have their own chance to shine, and they're great in this film. And I would even say the story is better than the original film, because the story, not gonna lie, it is pretty cliche, but this film, it does have some similarities from the first Avatar, but it's also a story about family that absolutely pays off. You love the Sully family, you really root for them, and you're excited to see them more within the franchise. We're getting 3 more of these movies, and honestly, after this movie, I'm excited to see where Pandora goes throughout this franchise. But this movie isn't my number 1. It's close, but my number 1 is definitely a movie that stands out throughout the other movies of this year. Alright guys, we are here. My number 1, my favorite movie of 2022. There's so many great movies that came out this year with these movies on my list, but this is a movie that absolutely stands off, and it's basically different than the other films I've seen this year. I just gotta say one thing. Steven Spielberg, you've done it again. You made off my last year's favorite movies of the year, and now you're back for my number 1 for this year. And that is absolutely The Fablement. Man, this movie is fantastic. This is definitely one of those movies that's absolutely wonderful, and really weird to say, magical. This is a great autobiopic movie about Steven Spielberg's life with fictionalized characters, and my god, the performances of the film is fantastic. Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, everyone does a terrific job in this film. The guy who played Sammy in this film, man, this is one of my favorite characters of the year. You really feel inspired with him throughout this film. This is definitely a love letter to filmmaking. And you can see how passionate Steven Spielberg was making this film. This is definitely his most personal film. And Steven Spielberg's direction with this film is remarkable. Any scene when you see Sammy making films, it always keeps a big grin to my face. The story of this film is flawless. I rooted for the whole way through. This is one of those movies that doesn't have a single nitpick. And that shows why this movie is one of my number 1 favorite movies of the year. Man, from West Side Story last year and this movie, Steven Spielberg shows us that legends are still out there. Filmmakers are still out there making films that felt like film. And The Fablement shows that Steven Spielberg has still freaking got it. With John Williams as well doing the score of this movie, and he's 90 years old. That's absolutely insane. The Fablement is definitely the standout of 2022, and it's absolutely my favorite movie that came out in 2022. Oh my gosh, guys, we are done. 2022. What a great year. And I know there are some movies that I have not seen yet, like The Whale and Babylon. Those, unfortunately, are coming out next year. Freaking Australia release date sucks. But I will see those movies and put on my late reviews on my 2022 playlist. So those reviews were going to come. But, of course, 2022 is over. I cannot wait for 2023. And, of course, my last top 10 list I'm going to do is my most anticipated movies of next year. So look forward to that. But 2022 is done. My end review lists are done. So just let me know in the comments below, once again, what are your favorite movies that came out this year? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd. Keep contact with me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel notified for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and Happy New Year, guys, because 2023, it's coming, and I can't wait for next year.